So, hello everyone. I would like to thank all of our audience who are attending this or watching this interview. Today we have one of the figures. I think any person from the Arabic world on the Middle East know our famous figure, Dr. Farouk ElBaz. Dr. Farouk ElBaz is one of the pioneers, geologists who are have like fingerprint on the geology worldwide, not only in US. Um, First of all, because I know that you have a limited time, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself just in a few words to our audience who don't know you.
I'm Farouk ElBaz. I was born and raised in Egypt. I was born in 1938, January 2nd, so that we all know. And I did finish my college degree in Egypt and then became an instructor at Asut University in the middle of Egypt, and then got a scholarship to study for a PhD in the US. And I came to the US in 1960, and then was here for 4 years. I first got a master's degree and then a PhD, all in economic geology. And then I went back to Egypt. I tried to get a job. I couldn't, and finally had to return and to the US after a year and a half in Germany. And so I was able to somehow connect with the Apollo space missions to the moon. And I became very heavily involved in the teaching of the astronauts and what to do geologically and what to photograph and what for and where do you land and why we select these places and so on. So I did play a role in the Apollo and the planning of the Apollo missions to the moon, all of them, from Apollo 11 through Apollo 17. And then I moved to the Smithsonian Institution to work there for a while, and then moved to Boston University, was there for nearly 30 years to teach or open a center for remote sensing, teaching geology as well as photography from space of the Earth and the moon and the planets.
Yep.
So it's a very varied background.
Yep. Yes, I can see that, and we know this. You highlighted something in your very quick introduction that you was working in Egypt in Asyut University, then you went to US to get your PhD, and then returned back to Egypt. So, do you think you can give us a hint before you traveling to US for the first time for the PhD? Before that, about the culture in Egypt, the working culture, the why you think to travel to get your PhD in US, not in Egypt?
Oh, okay, that's a very good point, because we all knew that our professors received their degrees either in Europe or in the US. And they were the best professors. Some of the local professors got degrees in Egypt, but they were not as good or not as famous or not being considered among the best. And those who were considered among the best were the people that had degrees abroad. We assumed that they did that, which was good, really, because their exposure to all of the sciences and all of the new knowledge and all of that, which was true. So it was not something to say badly about Egypt, but to say that the developing countries, all of them, would have preferred to get their higher degrees somewhere in Europe or in the US or in Russia, because Russia was also considered a developed country, but not as developed as well as the US or Europe. Because it is better to do that, because locally you will not be able to get that kind of a degree. You are abroad, you get a very good degree.
Yeah,
that was the common perception and common understanding.
Yes. But after your PhD in US, you try to return back to Egypt. I try to finish now the stage in Egypt. And you said that you tried to find a job or something like this and you couldn't. And then this was, I think, end of 60?
Yes, was in 1964, I think.
Okay.
When I finished and went back to Egypt, I was very hot on developing a system for economic geology, the likes of which does not exist anywhere in the world, because the economic geology in Egypt was not really well understood yet.
Yes.
And I had returned with a lot of information, a lot of data. I good, very highly educated at the School of Mines in Missouri for 4 years, and very well exposed to the best of Europe during 2 years in the University of Heidelberg. I prepared myself fully. I was member of all the international scientific organizations in Europe and in the US. I had all the books I have and all of the magazines, the scientific magazines. I knew I could do something, and I was very lucky to be educated by the best professors everywhere. And in Germany, Professor Ramdor, he was the father of all microscopy. In the US, Dr. The people that I worked there were among the very best from Utah, from the Heidelberg, or from Harvard, and you name it. So I thought I would go to Egypt and do something the likes of which doesn't exist anywhere in the world. I was preparing myself for it. I became a member of all the scientific associations, so I would get the magazines consistently and everywhere, both from the US and from Europe. And I had all my plans to do that. And when I went back to Egypt, I was just stunned to be told that I am supposed to teach chemistry at the Higher Institute of Suez. The Higher Institute of Suez. And why chemistry? I have a PhD in geology, and all the 4 departments of geology in Egypt knew me because the professors, the directors of all 4 departments at that time were professors of mine at some time or another during college years. They all knew me, they all wanted me, and none of them had one in economic geology. And I was the first in Egypt to get economic geology. So I was there, and they told me, no, this is it. And I could not accept it, and they would not move it. And I was, for a whole year, lacking a job with my wife, bore a child in Cairo at that time, with me getting no salary, no job, no hope. So it was just a very black year. And that was what forced me to say, okay, that's it. I can't do it under this kind of circumstances. And this was during Nasser's time. So people could not speak back.
65 or 60, 65 or so,
yes. During Nasser's time, people, you don't speak against the government, you don't talk back. You do as you're told. So I could not live under this kind of circumstances and get the hell out of there. And I just moved to find a job anywhere I could.
Actually, just to reflect on that, Dr. Farouk, it's a famous story that we know in our scientific community in Egypt, that when you return back to Egypt in 64, you had a lot of rock samples to be used as an example for the students at universities in Egypt. Can you just tell us about this? Because, this will give us how a young student, after he got his PhD, he would like to return back to his country to just be a useful member to his society.
Not just a useful member, the best.
The best.
Because I was taught by the best.
Exactly.
I had fantastic opportunities. And I spent all of my summer vacations visiting mines to get samples, because I thought that during our education in Egypt, we never had samples to look at from mines of manganese, or mines of this and that, or mines of magnesium, or this. We had no samples to look at. So I thought, if I'm going to make the best economic geology in Egypt, I'm going to have samples from all the major mines. So I spent my summers in the US to encourage 2 or 3 friends of mine from the school, Americans or Iranians or whatever I could do, so that we can get together enough money and then rent a car and move around all the main mines within the US. So I visited all the major mines of the US. And visiting mines, naturally go there and get samples. Because the miners themselves would say, well, Where you guys? What are you going to be? What kids? What are you doing here? So we tell them that we are students and we came to learn. I said, great, come on, we'll show you. Here is a nice sample. Here is the such and such. This is the way the galena shines and and gives it. And where you going? You're gonna go. After the day of work, say, where you guys gonna go? We said, we'll said, come here. You don't know that. You don't have a place to go. Come here. Come eat with us and spend the night here. And the miners themselves would help us, and we would go loaded with the best possible samples from all the main mines.
Yes.
And then I spent a year in Heidelberg to visit all the mines in Germany, the iron and the coal mines, and then the mines of the phosphates in Spain and France. And I did. So I collected samples from all the mines that I wanted to visit.
And you shipped them to Cairo or Egypt?
I shipped 4 tons of samples from the best mines in the world at my expense to Egypt.
Yeah. And
they actually wrote to the ministry about the potential of shipping this, because this is going to be very expensive for me, Papa. And they told me we don't have an item of rock shipping in the money that they have. They don't have an item called rock shipping, so they couldn't give me that. So I said I had to pay myself from my own salary, and that was it.
But from your point of view, now we are just driving a bit from the question of this meeting or this interview. What's your feeling about when you have this vision to return back to be the best and to empower the society, and then you got this this anti-action from the government, or from they just send you, they even didn't hire you at Geology Institute to teach geology, they just send you to teach chemistry in somewhere. What was your feeling?
I discussed it, of course. I mean, it broke my heart, and I'm preparing myself all this time, and they're going all the mines and getting this and getting that, and sitting myself, and they had all kinds of offers for jobs in Germany and jobs in the West. I did not want to stay there. I wanted to go back to Egypt and build a department of economic geology, the likes of which doesn't exist anywhere in the world, the best in the world, because I had samples from nobody had an opportunity to visit the mines that I did. So and then you go back and you can't even go to a department of geology, even though the 4 departments of geology in Egypt were headed by people that knew me personally. Most of them were former professors, and one of them I hired me to work with him actually as a mu'id, demonstrator. So all of the 4 heads of the departments of geology in Egypt knew me personally. They all liked me. They all knew that I would be a good for them, and they all needed somebody to teach economic geology, and none of them could move the Ministry of Education.
So I hear you.
For that, none of them could do it.
Yes. So, and after this black year for you, you decide to return back to US in order to get your work done. So, did you find a scholarship?
I wanted to escape. I wanted to escape from this miserable situation.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yes. But did you find an easy scholarship? Did you have an easy way to return back to US? Did you keep this contact between you and your supervisor in US during this year? So it was easy for you to return back to US at this time?
Not at all. I couldn't return right away to the US either.
Okay.
I could not. No. I got out. I only went out because I worked illegally in an oil company, and the oil company had an offer from Schlumberger to teach one of their geologists on geophysics at a course in Paris for 1 week, and Schlumberger was going to pay the way. The company picked me up and said, "Oh, he's the one that can best learn that and then teach others." So they knew that I could benefit them. So I went out to get that course, and then I began to think, if I can go from here, go back to the West, I will try. And I tried. I attended
and you succeeded.
because if I couldn't go back to the US, I would have to return to Egypt and continue. So I attended the course and did it all of the way. And then while I'm doing it, I was trying to get somehow to get a visa, and I couldn't anyway. So I called the Department of Geology at Heidelberg University, where I was there for 2 years. And the head of the department told me, why don't you come here and wait for that kind? And I did travel from Paris to Heidelberg. I stayed there in Germany for 2.5 months, in addition to the half months in Paris, until I was able to get a re-entry visa in the US.
Actually, this is a good message. If you allow me to like summarize this part of the discussion with a very good message, that you insist to to be the best, even if when you return back with the dream to be the best in Egypt, unfortunately you couldn't, because at this time the situation was not so good. But you insist to do so. So you maybe our audience not geologist, but you worked in oil sector, and oil sector is a bit far away from the economic geology.
I did not get a single course in petroleum geology.
Yeah.
But I taught myself, and because I was at my basic education was very good, so I taught myself.
Yeah. Well, so now when you return back to US after this long challenge in this 2 years or 3 years, did you find sort of a challenge there in US when you landed there? Like,
of course.
People didn't like you, or challenge in the environment, like culture shock?
No, not culture, because I knew Americans, because I lived there for 4 years.
Yes.
So I knew American, and how do Americans behave, and what's and what's the news, what's the television like, and all of that I knew. So when I arrived, I thought, just now we're gonna look for a job. So I started communicating with all the professors I knew, and then all of the universities that I have a list of to get, because I arrived in December, and they already had everybody that they would have to teach. They already hired them in September. They were hiring nobody in December. So I knew I cannot get back to the universities at all. So I started, then any company that does any geology. So I applied to all the mining companies, mining in South America, mining in the US, mining in Canada, every mining company, anywhere that does any geology. And then I thought, well, everywhere, whatever it is. And then I had a magazine called Physics Today that I was subscribing to. And they looked at an ad in Physics Today, was half a page, saying we need geologists to work on the geology of the moon. I said, geology. Let me say apply. My wife had typed 120 application letters, and this was at 10-something at PM, and I gave her that. I said, here's one more. She said, what is this for? I'm tired. I said, they need a geologist. And she said, for what? I said, for geology about the moon. And she said, and what do you know about the moon? I said, nothing, but I can learn. And that was it. It was the letter that I got a positive answer from. They said, okay, come in for interview. And they went to interview in Washington, D.C. And I began to interview, and the guy that was interviewing me was by the name of Edmund Nixon, the younger brother of Richard Nixon, the president, former president.
Yes.
And he told me, I'm a geologist too, and I have a master's degree in geology, but I couldn't find a real job, so I got this. And this one here, at least nobody knows about the geology of the moon. No one really knows. So why not? Maybe you can go in here and find the geology yourself, define the geology of the moon yourself. I loved it, and they got in, they accepted me, and they began to work on the geology of the moon, meaning applying what we know about the geology of the Earth to the surface features that we see in pictures of the moon. I did that and did it well,
and this is completely different than old geology.
Completely different, but applied the geological way of thinking and applied it to it, and became very well. And they included with some of the people that were working on the geology of the moon before I got there for 8 years. They were. And one of them was making a map, and he communicated with me and wanted me to join him to make a geologic map of the east side of the moon together with him, and I did.
So
And
this is the first geological map
yes, that's
okay.
right. And we published it by the U.S. Geological Survey, and my name was right on it, and I became one of the few people that know about the geology of the moon by trying to learn, and I learned.
But why you was insisting to work in academia in geology? So now
I
you
tried.
travel.
I did not insist. I tried, but I couldn't.
Yeah. So this when you start to looking for a job in US, this took a year, 6 months, few
Yeah,
months,
about a year.
a
Yeah.
year. So you was at this time try to just
No, I'm sorry. No, much shorter than that. 4 months only.
4 months. Okay. But by the end you succeed to do
Yes.
to find something.
Yep.
So do you think you can give us more hint about your journey with the Apollo things?
Yeah.
Because I
Okay,
think
then.
this is one of the things that I would like to inspire the mind of our students, our people who are living here in Europe or in US from underrepresented group from developing country, that they can do something. And I think you one of this best example to show, okay, one who really struggled in his country to find a job, and then he start to go to Germany or to France, and then start to go to US in order to start his scientific journey. And he has a big contribution. So do you think just tell us more about this?
First of all, I was willing to learn
Mm.
and learn well.
Mm.
And if I learn something, convey it to the others. I was not learning so I can keep it under my pocket.
Mm.
No, I'm learning so that all my fellow geologists would learn with me. And I continue to do this to this day. They all know me by that.
Yes.
Ask Farouk. Yeah, so anybody who has something, ask Farouk. He will tell you. He'll explain it to you. Because I do, if I want to learn something, my fellow geologists should certainly know about it. And they should know about it in the easiest possible way or the most appropriate way. So I collected material, I learned things, and then I began to tell my fellow geologists about it easily and in simple words, and to their benefit. And then when I learned about the fact that the astronauts are going to visit the moon and then collect rocks, and we said, we better actually tell them what is it, what to expect, so they can do the best possible job. And when they talk about it, they can give us information, not just say, hey, that's so nice, and that's very pretty, or something like that. No, tell us exactly what it is. Is it crystals? Do you see crystal faces? So we will learn something from their description. So we cannot learn from their description unless they know how to describe.
Yep.
So yes. I began to do this, to talk to them about how to describe, or what
to teach them.
But I did not start with geology and the types of rocks and this and that, because they did not want that. The astronauts. Astronauts are all pilots. They fly, and they want to fly very well and fly on the right track and da. So I approached them by saying that if you understand the features of the moon, you can actually fix your sights and fix your instruments so that you can take the spacecraft on the path that is the best possible path for you. So meaning flying, the best flight possible for you. Okay, what is that? So if you watch things, see things on the moon, that you can see them and then can say, locate them from one point to the next, and you know where these things are, that's it. You can fix the orbit exactly, and therefore your line would be better than what we know about here of your orbit on Earth, because you would know it better, because you're relating your orbit to specific 3 places on the moon, so that's the straight line. Okay, well, how do I do that? Okay, let's go at pictures. Look at pictures. See, we have to see the features of after before. And there are 2 craters. Oh, yeah, that's a doublet, a crater doublet. I write doublet on it, and this becomes the name. Never mind what the name was. It's now he called it the doublet.
Yeah.
Let it be the doublet. So I look at that, a whole bunch of craters. They figure they make the snowman, all right, snowman on this bunch of craters, because he knows what these whole bunch of craters, one after the other, one on top and this one, that becomes a snowman this way. And therefore, they began to see that if they actually know the surface features on the moon, they can fix the orbit spacecraft with numbers in the computer better than anything in Houston can do, and better than the last guys that came to the moon, meaning they will be the better pilot. Okay, so because they're all pilots, so they will be the better pilot. So I tried this way, and we got them completely.
And succeeded.
I am the one that will actually teach them things to do their job best.
Yeah.
That was the approach.
Yes.
If they do this, then in my talking to them, I will insert a word or two, which they will get because they are paying attention to me and to everything I say because of their benefit that they feel that they will get. And therefore, when they talk about it, they get used to it. He will tell me, what's that? What did I say? I tell him, I explain to him, and that's the way it was formed. I say, yeah, because and he will pick it up and learn it. And only this way. None of the other geologists approach them this way. The other geologists would start with, let's see, there are 2 different ages on the moon, and there is Copernican, and there is different, and we give them names of epochs and this and that, was older and younger, and he doesn't know what older and younger mean, and they never mind, God damn it, I don't want to. And they talked to them about the composition of the rocks and the crystallinity of the rocks. They say, I'm not going to have a microscope in the way, I don't want. So they became more of captured by the fact that if they sit down with me, they will do their job better than the other guy.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. So you got them in.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes. But in your short description now, you said that you teach them, and you still teach or try to train young scientists. And I know that you invite several of Arab people from Middle East, from Egypt, to your lab, and you train them.
Oh, there was since I went to after the Apollo program, I went to the Smithsonian Institution for Research, and I had 9 assistants, and then I moved to Boston University to be the umbrella over the departments of geology, geography, and archaeology. And they had multitudes of professors and young people that came to teach and to learn and all of that, for multiple places. Yeah.
And you never kept the information for you. You all the time transfer the information to
completely
knowledge.
Completely, and it's good because I learned in the process. I learned from these young people because of their different perspectives, different ideas. Of course, they teach you better.
Yes.
So that was my my modus operandi.
Yep.
I learned something and I started something, get some new people, tell them exactly what you know, and let them move beyond where you went, because you will learn from them better than you did.
Yes.
And they did.
Yes. Now I have still 2 questions in my mind, because I know that you have a very short time now. One question about this bad year, or this black year, as you described when you was living in Egypt. After that, when you become a famous professor, you return back and you start to give, right? Do you think you can give us some hints about your view when you are returning back to Egypt, when you start to feedback the government now with some suggestion here or there? Like
Perfectly normal. Perfectly normal,
why
because
you are doing something like this, for example. So um,
no. I mean, I consider Egypt my country, not theirs. And those people that were in control of that, they are stupid and arrogant and miserable, and they do not deserve to be in the positions where they were. But they misplaced my position
mm,
because of their stupidity.
mm,
But this has nothing to do with my affiliation with the country.
yes,
So Egypt is my country, not their country.
yes,
Yeah, because they are so stupid, they don't really deserve to be good Egyptians either, from the
yes,
minister all the way down to the bottom.
mm,
They are so arrogant or so stupid or so this. They don't deserve to be good Egyptians, because I know good Egyptians would not do that. Even take it from Nasser's time, himself. That's fine with me. I don't care who he is. He can be in the best possible position, but if you do badly, you are a lousy person, no matter how high in the ladder you are. There is a certain way to deal with humans, and there is a certain way to deal with the country, and a certain way to make absolutely certain that every step that you take is good for the country. That's
mm,
the way I would do
yes,
it. That's the way I was brought up to fear, and this was my country, not theirs.
yes.
They don't deserve to be real Egyptians, but I feel that Egypt is my country, and they will do whatever I could to help it and help Egyptians, and they did.
Yeah, I think this is perfect message, Dr. Farouk, because simply most of people who are coming from developing country, African country, Middle East or so, and working in Europe or in US, they have this feeling that they are treated not well in their countries, and maybe they are have such feeling, I am not belong to this country anymore. I am belong to the new situation, my new situation in US or in Europe or so. But this is very good example that regardless how many years you live in US, you still contribute to society in Egypt. You still return back to give them some feedback, some suggestion, not because of the government, but because of the people. Because you still
Absolutely,
it's our countries.
of course. And I'm still Egyptian American.
Yes,
I'm not American. I'm Egyptian American.
yes,
And
Egypt.
the American government actually sent me back to other Arab countries to give lectures about the Apollo program, knowing that I would be the best possible representative of the Americans,
Mm,
and I did. And then later I took astronauts with me to visit Egypt and other countries, and the best example with, because this is my country, not theirs. Yeah, not Nasser's camp or Nasser and his crew. It was not Egypt, was not theirs. It was not mine. It was mine, and it remains mine, no matter who's heading it. Even Sisi is it's not Sisi's country more than mine. No, mine first. And
yep,
then yes, he is the president there. Fine, I salute, but it is mine first.
yep,
I was born there. I was raised there. My family came from there. I am Egyptian American. I came here intentionally, and I selected to become here and become a American citizen, and I would defend America, and for sure, like because of what happened to me in America and what I believe America is and the way America stands for. But I'm still Egyptian American. If
yep,
America has war against Egypt, I will not stand with America, because Egypt is my country.
yes, yes. And I think this is a very good example to correct even the people here in Europe who are thinking that integration, because all the time they are speaking about integration of people from developing country or people who are foreigner living here. And I think most of them they are just misunderstand the word integration. They said that integration just forget your rule, forget your country, forget your culture, and you have to learn yourself the new ethics here. And I don't think this is a correct way. Integration is mixing between different culture.
Sure.
Uh, uh, I think or I believe that if you are person who are coming from another country who are living here for several years, you will be much, much better than people who just grow up in US because you have different thinking. You think from different perspective. So you have an added value to society in both in your home country and into the US society as well.
Of course. And that Egypt is a better example of that than the US. Egypt was the big cheese on the old time. So there were people from Italy and Turkey and Greece and so on came to Egypt. When I was at school in Cairo, in Egypt, we had Pedro from his family came from Italy, and we have Aki Kalamitsis from Greece, and all of them were like us, and they spoke Egyptian Arabic, and they became because Egypt was big, and people from Greece and Italy and Sicily and all of that migrated to Egypt because Egypt was a big country, and they became Egyptians in their attitudes and this and that, but they were local. They still spoke their own language. They ate their own food. They listened to the music from Italy or Greece, and that's perfectly okay, as I do here. I speak that language. I teach their kids. I will do this and that. But when I have music, I will listen to Umm Kulthum or Abdul Wahab. So it's perfectly okay, and this is perfectly okay with them, because when they needed something from the Arab world, the American government asked me to represent America in the Arab country to take astronauts as a representative of America to take the astronauts around in Egypt and the Gulf countries, and they did. Meaning the country can ask me to represent America in a nice way in the Middle East, and they did,
Yes.
and it's perfectly good. And if
Because
Egypt wants,
you understand the culture.
And if Egypt wants to make a representation in the US and ask me to join the group that will do, I would do, and they have done. So it is perfectly okay.
Yes. I think maybe you can give me 1 minute or 2 minutes just for a very short question. What would you recommend young people who are either coming to Europe or to US to start their career as not as just researcher, but maybe open a restaurant or just try to find a job, or who are still in their home country and they dream to come to Europe or to US to start? What's your big message to them?
No matter what your background is, no matter what your field is, no matter what is it that you're going to do the best possible job that you can do, period.
And maybe as you did, run behind your dream?
No, do the best possible job. Going back to my dream is because the best possible job will have to include all of my knowledge. Yeah.
Yes.
So just simply do the best possible job you can.
Yes. Yes. Good. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Dr. Farouk. This was
Thanks.
great.
Thank you.
And see you later.
Good. Thank you.